let's get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here. We got a discussion about what it takes to be left, what it takes to be right, and what happens to a person when they start saying things that their camp, their Democrat camp, their Republican camp do not support, or they start getting out of the lines of what is supported, what is not. RFK Jr. is a great example. He was completely thrown out of he didn't even have a chance to leave the Democrat Party. He was tossed out. He was shunned. They acted like he didn't even exist. It was wild. All because he decided to commit the sin of running against Joe Biden. Not allowed. Absolutely not allowed. For some reason. I mean, I know why. It's because Biden was sharp as a tack. And when you're sharp as a tack, everybody should just kind of get out of your way because Orange Man bad, you know? But Oliver Anthony breaks it down perfectly. Talks about the stripes of zebras, okay? And I know that sounds weird, but the way he breaks it down is great. And then we're just going to show some examples of that happening today. Going to talk about Tulsi a little bit. Going to talk about Trump a little bit. Going to talk about Obama a little bit. So buckle up.
Of who's a citizen or not, it's like, then it's not even a country. It's like, and most every country has some, like, the idea of there being no immigration laws for a country means that it's no longer a country. But I also think it's like the opposite side of that too is like America's always, in theory, even though it's always been ran by there's always been these corrupt people involved in it. In theory, you know, America was started as sort of this thing that was like, that can maybe be like a sanctuary that doesn't allow monarchies and dictators and horrible things, you know, like as bad as America maybe has been in certain cases, like the fact that when Japan lost, they didn't just go and take it over and call it another part of America. Like they went and tried to rebuild. Like in theory, America is supposed to be this vein that exists of, you know, its origination is from people who wanted to get away from monarchies and dictators. And of course, like it's so easy to pick on the founding fathers and all their faults and the crazy things they did, but it was centuries ago in a different culture, and they probably were all maniacs. You'd have to be a maniac to go up against the world's biggest empire and take it on, you know,
with
like
a musket.
with a Yeah, like you have to be crazy. And of course they had personality flaws, but the reality is that here's the thing that sucks is like, and it goes both ways. There's a lot of things about people on the left that people on the right don't realize that they have in common. And it's the same way with this. Like it breaks my heart when people just totally trash the founding fathers, not because they were they took horrendous too, I'm sure. Probably not as bad as Beyonce, but pretty close. And, you know, the fact, like, of course they were bad people. They were all bad. We're humans. We're flawed inherently. Even the best of us, even the ones who act like we're the best and the most, like, we're all screwed up. We all have our problems and our faults and stuff. But the fact that they were willing to, like, go somewhere to another land with all this crazy stuff and then take on the world's biggest empire at that time, just so they could be able to do what they, you know, religious freedom. It's like they didn't want religious freedom because they were not even necessarily because they wanted to go to church. I always thought it was like, it's so weird that they were fighting for religion, but it wasn't they were fighting for religion. They were fighting for the mandate of religion. They were tired of the church. And like, I know it's not considered the church anymore, but there is still a church that dominates us and tries to control us now. And now, unfortunately, now the church is just sort of this weird thing, but it's the zebra mentality, you know, among politicians. It's like, it goes back to that. I think it's Jordan Peterson that talks about the zebras and how they'll do a study on zebras, and it's in the Maps of Meaning book, I believe, and they'll mark one red to study it. And then the predators take that zebra down because the zebra's stripes aren't camouflaged to their surroundings. They're camouflaged to each other, so they're not easily identifiable. And so 4 or 5 lions can't take one zebra down if they all look the same. And in politics, I believe that's what's happened, especially on the left. You know, I had people in Nashville quit working with me because I talked about this when I was at the Ryman, but we had this dancing this chick that plays the fiddle, and she does like flat dancing and stuff, named Hillary Klug, who lives in Nashville, and we had her come to the Ryman to do this show with us, and it was on a last minute thing, and I'm about to introduce her, and I tell the crowd, I'm like, hey, you know, I said, I got Hillary about to come out, and I was like, but it's not, don't worry, it's not that Hillary, and just made a joke about it. Well, somebody said something in the crowd that was, and I don't know, I just interact, and I just say what comes to mind, and I don't care, you know, I don't worry about all that stuff and what people might think. I just try to say what I feel, but I was like, you know, isn't it crazy that somebody like Hillary, who not that long ago I can remember vividly, and as a child or in the teenage years, like being completely against the idea of even having two people of the same gender be married. Like, she was as against gay marriage as like any person on the far right is now, you know, and that was in my childhood or early teen. And I said, and now the fact that now that it's okay for kids to become transgender and go through like what Michael did, that's to me is just, it just shows that it's all theatrics and that none of those people really have any real like opinions about any of this stuff. It's all about what'll sell, you know. Like,
did you say this at the Ryman?
I said this at the Ryman, and so I had my management company that I was using then drop me and a bunch of other people without even telling me. They just emailed my attorney and said they couldn't work with me anymore. Wow. They were that mad about that, which tells you how far off the deep end. But anyway, it's just... Well, everything you're saying is just a fact. But you're exactly...
It's so crazy that he got dropped because that's not even a hard right position or a hard left position. That's just kind of calling out the spectrum of politicians. When did that become a bad thing to do in music? Isn't that what it's always like? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I like, there hasn't been a wave of right-wing musicians like back in the day. I guess you could say left-wing, you know, like classic liberal, but just for just saying that, you know, that's just him like awakening people to what so many people say, the game of politics, the game of right and left. Why is that an issue?
You're exactly right with all that. It's just, it's difficult to convey that to people because there's so many emotions involved. But at the end of the day, it's like, I don't see a whole lot of difference in people on the left and the right anymore. I think we're all just like you said, we all are trying to just effectively accomplish the same thing, just in different ways. And it's really easy to get angry at somebody that's on the same level as you than somebody that you don't even know exists, which is like with these private equity companies and these people in the background that do all the enemy that, so what's happened is going back to the zebra thing, what I think has happened is like, especially in politics, the reason why Hillary Clinton can be against gay marriage and then for transgender kids in a very short period of my lifetime, and a whole bunch of other politicians with her, is that they're all just constantly rearranging their stripes so all the zebras look just alike, because as soon as one of them looks a little bit different, right, you know, like that's a great analogy. Like Tulsi Gabbard or whatever, I don't know, there's plenty of people besides, that's just the first one that comes to mind, that's like, you know, trying to be a Democrat and upholding most of what the Democratic Party would have wanted her to uphold up until very recently, but because she didn't rearrange her stripes, it's like, you're dead. But there's a whole bunch of more like her too that aren't even in politics anymore. But that's the way I see it now, is it's like all these people. And so like even with Big Donnie, you know, I wonder, like, yeah, Big Donnie. I just wonder, I just don't trust. It's kind of my Alex Jones syndrome, but it's like no matter how cool somebody seems like that, I think like, man, does him and Hillary really still chill? Like they're probably smoking a fat joint right now, just laughing. I don't know. Like you just don't really know. You don't really know. You have to see what you see and you have to take it in and just hope that somehow you have the discernment to know what's true or not. But you really just don't. I mean, even with me, man, so much crazy stuff that gets said and done. And I just don't even, when things come out about me that aren't true, I just don't even reply or acknowledge them anymore. I just let them exist in their own little space and be part of it. And I've just decided that, again, we're just in this crazy thing where all this stuff happens, and it's just, I don't know. The problem is so many people that don't do that. They're not aware of how much influence is being peddled onto them, how much their mind and their opinion is being affected by this nonsense on social media, by bots and by all these different things. What you said about the zebras and the stripes is so perfect. One of my favorite clips is Hillary Clinton when she was running. I think it was 2012. It might have been. When did he first become president? 2008, right? Obama? Yeah. It might have been 2008. But she was running, and she was more MAGA than MAGA. Mm-hmm. She was talking about the border and about people coming over here. If you want to stay, you get a stiff fine. And if you've done anything illegal, you get exported, no questions asked. And listen to this. Give me this full volume from the beginning. Wait till you hear this. This is wild.
So I think we got to have tough conditions. Tell people to come out of the shadows. If they've committed a crime, deport them. No questions asked. They're gone. If they've been working and are law-abiding, we should say, here are the conditions for you staying. You have to pay a stiff fine because you came here illegally. You have to pay back taxes, and you have to try to learn English, and you have to wait in line.
If Trump, like,
You have to wait in line. That's so MAGA. I mean,
but it just proves the point that none of that really means. They're sitting in the green room in the back before that speech, and there's like some stuff written out, and they're just like, oh, I got to try to remember all this. Like, none of that meant anything. You know, like, none of that. I don't think she even believed when she said it back then. In other words,
she thought it was what the country wanted to hear. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's all focus group. It's all what the country wants to hear and what the party agrees upon, what the zebras all agree on. When you just said that, that's it perfectly. And as it morphs, as it gets into trans kids, you got to support trans people in the military. Whatever it is, they just all hop in line. What flag am I putting in my Twitter bio?
And to go back to what you said at the beginning about those kids that are riding with and they don't really even know what they're riding. They got the mask on, but they're doing this, and it's like, I guess what I mean is there's a bunch of human beings on Earth, especially now, like in this sort of like American culture and all the other sub-series of it, like in, you know, Europe and everywhere is so Americanized now, but there's all these people who are really angry. It's kind of like it's the reason why, you know, there's so many of these videos where they interview like the Antifa dudes, and they don't really even know why they're not able to talk. They're not really able to articulate why they're there or what they believe. They're just there because they're just there to riot, you know?
Right.
There's this.
Man, very interesting analogy with the zebras. And yeah, he was so right to bring up Tulsi. Tulsi is the number one that you would think of when it comes to this kind of thing. She was on the left, and she said things that you're not supposed to say when you're on the left. And she believed things that you're not supposed to believe, or at least say publicly that you believe when you're on the left. And it forced her to say, okay, I have to remove myself. First off, she didn't just remove herself. She got attacked. Then she got the Russian agent accusation. And then from there, she was like, okay, I'm done. You guys did all this stuff to me. I'm done. I'm removing myself. And that's why she became an independent. It's crazy. But now we're starting to see the same thing happen to Tulsi again. Tulsi Gabbard ended up saying that Iran was not close to making a nuclear weapon. She went against what Benjamin Netanyahu was saying. She is the one that gathers all the intelligence. If you don't know, her current position is to go to all of the agencies. I think it's about 17 or 19 agencies. And she collects all the intel. And she actually is supposed to be briefing the president with this intel every day or every week, something like that. So she's supposed to know exactly what's going on. But now she has said something that has made her stripes change just a little bit. So Trump had this to say about her. Then I'm going to show you what she actually said. And yeah, let's go.
But I was very much opposed to the Iraq war. And I actually did say, don't go in, don't go in, don't go in. But I said, if you're going to go in, keep the oil. But they didn't do that.
What intelligence do you have that Iran is building a nuclear weapon? Your intelligence community has said they have no evidence that they are at this point.
Well, then my intelligence community is wrong. Who in the intelligence community said that?
Your director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard.
She's wrong.
Mr. President,
Very, very sternly, she's wrong. Now, obviously, the president knows things that we do not know, believe it or not. I know some people think he's just a guy and he doesn't know things, but he knows things. And it's probably a lot of things he knows that we do not know, right? But Tulsi is supposed to know those things. She's actually supposed to know not everything that the president knows, but she gives him a great deal of intel. And he's just saying she's wrong now because what she is saying is no longer part of the script. You know, I don't mean actual script, but she's not going along with what you're supposed to go along with. But at the same time, she kind of is. But even Bill O'Reilly had this to say about her.
Is the American National Security Director, Tulsi Gabbard.
Let me slow that down. He's too old to be speaking that fast, that's for sure. How old is this guy? This guy must be older than Nancy Pelosi. This guy must have been born in 1912, for God's sake.
American National Security Director, Tulsi Gabbard. This is an amazing story. So Gabbard doesn't see the threat, even though President Trump appointed her head of national security. He doesn't see it. Roll the tape.
Political elite and warmongers are carelessly fomenting fear and tensions between nuclear powers. Perhaps it's because they are confident that they will have access to nuclear shelters for themselves and for their families that regular people won't have access to. So it's up to us, the people, to speak up and demand an end to this madness.
Now, that was just posted about a week ago. And Trump's mad. That's it for Tulsi. She's done. Okay? And when she was appointed national security chief, I like her, by the way. I mean, I've interviewed her a number of times, and I think she's a woman of conviction, but her conviction is isolationism. And Trump...
I don't want to hear Bill O'Reilly talk a bunch of nonsense. If you like Bill O'Reilly, that's good for you. I think I'm not gonna say he's still kicking and he knows exactly what he's doing, and he used to be the Tucker Carlson of Fox. I know all that, but I'm more of the class of like Tucker Carlson. Like this is like older, you know. I don't know how to put. I just want to be respectful, but I'm not into his rhetoric, we'll say. But what Tulsi just said there, that I didn't catch that in that clip. What she just said just now, that goes completely against what every Republican is saying right now. That you need to speak up as people, and maybe these people are all saying this because they have nuclear bomb shelters and you don't. That is wild. Like, back to Oliver Anthony. She has changed. She just put a little red dot where her stripes are. And now everybody's looking at her like, oh, you're far too different. You're going to get taken out ASAP, you know? I don't mean taken out like life or anything, but, you know, possibly removed from her position for this type of thing. I don't think so. I think Trump can, I hope. I mean, Bill O'Reilly says he's mad, but I don't know. I know he talks to Trump, but yeah, if I haven't heard Trump say it and I haven't heard Trump actually attack her on Truth Social or anything, I think she's good where she is. But in regards to the Republicans who she's just newly become aligned with, they're probably going to be shunning her all sorts. She also said this, okay? So listen to what she has to say in this clip. It sounds like she is on board with what every Republican is on board with. But there's one part that's a little different.
Iran continues to seek expansion of its influence in the Middle East, despite the degradation to its proxies and defenses during the Gaza conflict. Iran has developed and maintains ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and UAVs, including systems capable of striking U.S. targets and allies in the region. Tehran has shown a willingness to use these weapons, including during a 2020 attack on U.S. forces in Iraq and in attacks against Israel in April and October 2024. Iran's cyber operations and capabilities also present a serious threat to U.S. networks and data. The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program. In the past year, we've seen an erosion of a decades-long taboo in Iran on discussing nuclear weapons in public, likely emboldening nuclear weapons advocates within Iran's decision-making apparatus. Iran's enriched uranium stockpile is at its highest levels and is unprecedented for a state without nuclear weapons. Iran will likely continue efforts to counter Israel and press for U.S. military withdrawal from the region by aiding, arming, and helping to reconstitute its loose consortium of like-minded terrorists and militant actors, which it refers to as its axis of resistance. Although weakened, this collection of actors still presents a wide range of threats, including to Israel's population, U.S. forces deployed in Iraq and Syria, and to U.S. and international military and commercial shipping and transit.
So it sounds like right there, she is pretty much saying everything that needs to be heard. But the one thing that she said that people do not like.
Suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program. In the past, the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2000. The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader.
And that right there, That goes against what everybody's saying right now. So that makes Bill O'Reilly here say she's done. But think about everything else she said. She said everything right. She's saying they have uranium and it's very odd that they have so much. Although they don't have a nuclear weapon and they don't have a program, she's still saying everything that needs to be said, but it's just this one part where, you know, it's Tulsi. I'm going to say she decides to be truthful and just say that they're not doing that. To her knowledge, of course. You could always say that. They could be lying to her. You know, perhaps all these 17, 19 intelligence agencies, including counterterrorism, perhaps they're not getting the information. I guess. It's just very interesting that now she's at this point where Trump is saying that she's wrong, but he's not attacking her. Bill O'Reilly saying Trump's really mad. He's saying she's done. And then she went a step further after this to give that message that you heard here with Bill O'Reilly. She was saying that maybe these people are doing this because they have shelters and you don't. It's just one of those things, man. So she changed those stripes a little bit, the whole zebra mentality, and now that's it. Yeah, she might be out. But, you know, this has happened many times. You know, Biden's stance on gay marriage. This guy's been alive for so long. 1996, like he was doing stuff as an adult. 1996, like what? I was still trick-or-treating back then. 1996, he was against it. 2006, he was still against it. 2012 with Barack Obama is when he started to change just a little bit. And by 2022, he's saying respect marriage law, which repealed what he actually put into law, which was the DOMA, and provided federal protections for same-sex and interracial marriages. What? 2022? Hey. Yeah, like how you threw in interracial there, okay? But I think that's been okayed. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. But again, this is someone who's changed their stance. You know, Joe Rogan showed Hillary Clinton a crazy change in stance, but they did it at the right time. That's where Biden and Hillary differ from Tulsi. They did it because everybody else shifted as well. Everybody else is moving, so they're just going along with the crowd. Tulsi is pushing against the crowd, but that's what she does. You know, that's why I don't think Trump would be that mad at her, because he knows that's what she does. He's watched it for the past 10 years. She just goes against what her party is saying, if it's within her values and her beliefs. It's just interesting. You know, and then people also were bringing this up all over X because everybody was like, where was the protests when Barack Obama was saying stuff like this? Again, you know, changed his stripes, but only when it was okay to. It's very interesting.
Even as we are a nation of immigrants, we're also a nation of laws. Undocumented workers broke our immigration laws, and I believe that they must be held accountable.
We all agree on the need to better secure the border and to punish employers who choose to hire illegal immigrants. We are a generous and welcoming people here in the United States, but those who enter the country illegally and those who employ them disrespect the rule of law, and they are showing disregard for those who are following the law. We simply cannot allow people to pour into the United States undetected, undocumented, unchecked, and circumventing the line of people who are waiting patiently, diligently, and lawfully.
This is not going to be a free ride. It's not going to be some instant amnesty. What's going to happen is you are going to pay a significant fine. You are going to learn English. You are going to go to the back of the line so that you don't get ahead of somebody who was in Mexico City applying legally. But after you've done these things over a certain period of time, you can earn your citizenship. So that it's not something that is guaranteed or automatic. You've got to earn it, but over time, you give people an opportunity. Now,
How about that? I was saying the same thing Barack Obama was just 2 episodes ago. How crazy is that? Interesting stuff. But again, changing the stripes only when it was okay to, right? So now if you ask Barack Obama about it, he's just like, which way is the wind blowing? Orange man bad? What's the orange man doing? They don't even check the wind anymore. They just use Donald Trump like it's Groundhog Day. They're like, where is he? Oh, he's over there? Well, that means deportations are still bad for at least another 3-4 years. Deportations are bad. Meanwhile, he's still the record holder. But it's funny, again, where was the protests about Obama saying this stuff? Why was it all cheers and good when he said it? And it's absolutely terrible when Trump says it. It's funny, man, because, what Oliver Anthony was talking about, I often have these thoughts as well. So many people, like when I make a video, I'm concentrated on a video and the point of the video. So many people will be like, oh, you haven't woken up to this guy, or you haven't woken up, or the prolific people. Oh, you're so prolific. 2 wings of the same bird, man. You're 2 wings of the same bird. So cliche. Believe me, you're not. When you say that, you're not prolific. I know I'm hurting somebody's feelings right now. Good. Stop saying that. Might be true, but stop saying it. You don't sound cool when you're saying it. But so many people think like, oh man, I can't believe this guy hasn't woken up to that. I think about that stuff all the time. I think about it. Listen. I made a tinfoil Speedo because my tinfoil hat kept falling off, okay? All right? Let's just be clear, okay? I needed something that hugged the hips because of how deep I was going, that the hat would just come right off, okay? I needed something that hugged the hips, cup the buttocks, okay? All right? Just so you know. So I think about it deeply, about things like that. Like, is this all just some game, or do they all convene in the background? And, even you start to realize, when you saw Obama and Trump at that funeral, it's like, yeah, they're not drunken frat guys where they're going to fight each other if they see each other. Kamala Harris won't talk to any of them. There's reasons for that. None of them like her, mainly. Mainly that's the issue. None of them, like Obama, Trump, Biden, Jill, none of them like her. Even her husband now doesn't like her. So Michelle doesn't even like her. You know what I mean? Like, so, it's, you look at it and you go, oh, like, are they still all, hanging out? Do they all meet up? And you think about it sometimes, and some people are sure of it. They're like, yep, they're all friends behind the scenes. I think what it actually is they're all colleagues. Because as I start to do this content thing, and I run, and comedy as well, and just being in film and television in general, there's always people don't like you. You know it. You know they don't like you. You know that some of them hate you. And you'll still see them, and you'll be like, hey, what's up? And they'll be like, hey. They'll be like, oh, who's going up next? Oh, well, this guy's going up. And yeah, this guy went up. Yeah, he did great. There's no fighting, because you don't want to be the person to rock the boat that much, right? It's interesting. Very, very interesting. So, where Oliver Anthony is right now, when he says stuff like that, he calls it that syndrome that he has, the AJ syndrome. Where he is right now, I call that the tinfoil realm. And you can't live in the tinfoil realm. You have to know it's there. It's good to know it's there. It's good to look at Gavin and say, that's lizard DNA right there. And just know it. But then you got to step back with everybody else and say, what a bad governor, huh? Right? You can't just be like, this guy has lizard DNA to a bunch of normies. They're going to be like, what? What are you talking? What? You get that? That's not slick back hair. That's just his scales. He's an iguana. You guys don't see it? Where's everybody going? Why'd it get so quiet in here? Can't do that. You gotta come back to normal people town for a second, but you always have to be able to go back and forth. Like, what it's called? A bodhisattva. You know what a bodhisattva is? It's in Buddhist. in Buddhism, the bodhisattva is someone who goes to the lengths of enlightenment, and he knows how to get there, and he's achieved it. But instead of going to full nirvana and transcending this place, he steps back and he walks back into society because he wants to teach others how to get there. It's like a bodhisattva. That's what you have to be. In the tinfoil realm, you have to be a bodhisattva. You always have to come back, help people out, trigger some brains, you know? I like that analogy. But yeah, it's funny the way that happens. And it's sad to see it happening to Tulsi right now. And I hope her and Trump don't get to a point where, she's moved out of her position. It would be so terrible to see that, because we've already received this disappointment of Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. And then on top of that, to all of a sudden have Tulsi be shifted out. We already got Trump calling Tucker Carlson kooky, and we got Tucker Carlson going at Ted Cruz. We already have all this weird infighting. It's like, it would suck to see it right in the administration as well. But, it is what it is. It is what it is. Oh, talk about changing your stripes. This is somebody that's going against the grain right now. And I know you're looking at this. A lot of you don't even know who this is. This is JoJo Siwa. Okay. JoJo Siwa was someone who was like this. Yeah. Was just like this. And then came out recently and admitted that she felt pressured to come out as this, when in reality, all she wanted was this, just a normal relationship with a dude. And now all of a sudden she's just like out, and she's just like, it's like, this is what happens to young people nowadays. They have to come out as straight. That's what young people have to do today. They have to come out as being straight. And they're just like, it's a very weird lifestyle that she just likes to be with a guy, and that's her boyfriend, and monogamous, and like, oh, it's not an open relationship. It's like, oh, so crazy that she's doing all this. But it's funny because we're talking about changing stripes and like what happens to a person when you do that out in the open while the rest of the crowd is going one way, you're going the other way. She's going to get attacked. She's going to get attacked by her base. She's already a millionaire. She doesn't have to worry about it. She's young and a millionaire. But she's going to get attacked. People are going to come at her and be like, oh, you're doing all this stuff. And, you're being what are you, a trade wife now? And they're going to say all sorts of things about this young lady because she just decided she's just going to be normal. People are going to be like, you're embracing your white privilege. Ew. How dare you? Actually, it's actually not the greatest thing for you to be doing that type of thing with gentlemen. I mean, this is very problematic. And she doesn't care. So, yeah, I just figured I'd throw that one in for fun. Shout out to her, too. Found a guy. Good. Good for you, man. Do that. Anyways, guys, I just wanted to bring that one up. Anyway, I'm out. Oh, I completely forgot. Guys, check this out. I completely forgot I had this clip of Oliver Anthony actually talking at the Ark. And what he had to say was pretty impressive. So let's listen to it.
And so I'm just here to remind you that we don't need our false idols. We should no longer rely on politicians who bow down to money to manage our city or our states. We need to find the real leaders everywhere and empower them. Western North Carolina was proof to me that there is an army of good people left in this world who want to do good things. We just have to give them places to gather and give them the ability to act. And so I close with this. Do not fret because of those who are evil, or be envious of those who do wrong, for like the grass they will soon wither, like green plants they will soon die away. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and enjoy safe pasture. Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. And so I'll see you on April the 5th in Spruce Pine, North Carolina for the first official gathering. It is now my life's mission to revive rural America one town at a time. It's called the Rural Revival Project. So thank you for listening.
Oliver Anthony, ladies and gentlemen.
Find the real leaders.
He was joking about it when he was talking with Joe Rogan about running for office, but he seems like he has aspirations, or at the very least wants to be heard and wants rural America and Americans to be heard like they deserve to be. And I think that is, I think that's pretty amazing. So just wanted to show that to you guys. Completely forgot I had that clip. Anyway, now I'm out.